Thank you for everybody for coming here today as we gather to pay tribute to a man who is more than just a name to us. Whether you called him John or Mordrake or something a tad more colorful, he certainly filled many roles. Some of you may know me as Lisa and others as Elizabeth. I stand here today in front of all of you with a deep hole in my heart. His passing created a void in my life that can't be filled. But he lives on in the memories I have and the lessons I learned from him. And I would like to share some of these with you. If you don't know how I became his student, let me tell you how his emphatic no became, I might have been tad too hasty. Yes. I heard of his reputation, obnoxious, and that didn't deter me from undertaking the daunting task of asking him to be my mentor. He bluntly responded with that no. I thanked him for his time and his consideration and turned and walked away. A few days later, he said he might have been a little hasty, and after he had taken some counsel, he felt that he might be able to assist me. He added, because you didn't whine, pout, try to needle me, cajole me with all the reasons I should take you as a student. So if you want to try, I'm willing. Great! I was thrilled. I had a mentor. We had a long conversation about what I thought this was going to be like and expectations, mine and his. And my reason for choosing Mordrake was based on that reputation he had acquired. To those who knew him, you know what I mean. Didn't want things sugar-coated, softened, or tailored when things had to be discussed, and plans and goals needed to be made. We talked, and we picked Battlemore 8 for my belting ceremony. At Battlemore 8, I was busy cooking in the camp kitchen, trying to prepare the evening meal, making sure people would have some food, when suddenly I felt two people take a hold of my arms, and I heard, you need to come right now with us. I looked up, saw former king and queen holding me, and I was almost late for my own belting ceremony. What a great way to start being a protege. Can't even be on time. This was the real start of an adventure and a journey that has had so many wonderful and great times. We have drunk entire crops of coffee beans in a single year, together with conversations that span the history of the Outlands, stories of his own times within the Society of Creative Acronism, and a few things I will treasure as crazy anecdotes, not to be told in mixed company for anybody under the age of 1 or over the age of 10, or maybe it was 15. Anyway, I'm not an adult, I'm only 2. We talked daily, or typed messages on Facebook for hours. We'd meet and have lunch or breakfast a couple times a week. He let me into his inner world, into his mind, and the deepest corners of his soul. He told me about some things of his childhood, getting up before the crack of dawn to attend swim practices, taking judo lessons, and why he attended Catholic parochial boarding school for his junior year in high school. His educational journey brought him back to Pueblo, graduating from Centennial High School, and then he attended the University of Southern Colorado, which is now called CSUP. John earned a degree in computer sciences and contributed to various corporations by developing accounting software and coding. He also served in the United States Navy as a Navy SEAL for 4 years. I guess one practice kind of paid off. Each time I'd ask him, now what? What should I be doing? Am I not doing something? I got the look. That silence is all the instruction I got. When I look back, I realized he never really told me what to do. He just said, keep doing what I was already doing. Gave me the best advice ever. I learned how to find a need and fill it, then make it better, show what gives me joy, and then share the dream, helping new people learn about what it is we do and give others the opportunity to have an experience to make their own memories. Master Oliver Mordrake, I thank you for continually inspiring me to do my best. You help me strive for goals. I found guidance, friendship, discipline, and love. Everything in one person, and that person was you. My mission is not to merely survive, but to thrive with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. My only regret is that you will not be here to see me elevated, should I ever be found worthy, and that to occur. Do not want to do this, but I must return your belt at this time. I love this belt. I treasure the memories it has seen, perhaps has stored too. Your Excellencies, Your Grace, I would like to keep this belt, and if I ever find a no, then Oliver Mordrake's legacy can be continued. At this time, I would like to open the floor and the mic to anyone who would like to speak, to tell a story, to sing a song, or share a dream.
So you need the tissue? I need a hair napkin. You want water?
Please.
In relative terms, I'm a fairly newcomer to being in Mordrake's inner circle, having met him, I think it's about 8 or 9 years ago. I know several people in this room have known him for 40 years, but I just wanted to express what he meant to me. My first knowledge of his presence was when he first moved back to Pueblo, and he made a post about why are we continually having begathons for an insignificant portion of our populace, meaning, you know, getting funds for youth hall at Battlemore. I was like, who is this, for lack of a better term, jerk? Well, as time went by and he took Elizabeth as a protege, and then later on when we had two very special people basically dropped into our lives, you know, Mordrake had this crusty persona that angered a whole lot of people. But once you got to know him, Slane said it best recently when we, yeah, he had a squishy inside. And to see what, the way he worked with Levi and Savannah, I mean, having him spend the weekend at his place while Elizabeth and I went to events, you know, just to give us a break. I mean, he loved those kids and they loved him. And I can't say that Mordrake was a friend, but he became a brother. In fact, when he was over at our house one day, and one of our neighbors was like, "Are you two brothers?" We looked at each other. I said, "I'm not sure which one of us should be insulted." He said, "I think it's you." But I'm gonna miss the man. He leaves a lot of unfinished projects, but in many ways his work is going to carry on. And these two, his protege,
And take, you know, take this out.
in the house that David is going to be taking care of. Thank you, John.
So I knew Mordrake, I can tell you the day I met Mordrake. I met Mordrake the day I took a knee and became a squire. It was the first event I ever saw him at. It was August 15th of 1985. He showed up and fought at a tournament and beat my butt. I only knew Mordrake through this history organization. But he and I pretty much agreed that spending our lives in this organization was time well spent. That we had formed bonds and friendships and probably both avoided a certain amount of jail time because of the bonds and the friendships and the things, the lessons that this organization taught us. So that's pretty great to me. We went from pretty young-looking fellows, not quite like that, but pretty young-looking fellows to this. So I don't know what I'm trying to say. I respected the man, I loved the man. I didn't agree with the man all that often, but when he called me out on something, it wasn't necessarily to disagree with me. It was to make me check my assumptions, questioning me in a way that made me certain that what I was doing was right or wrong. He had a big impact on my life, especially since moving back to Pueblo. He and Sir Needham were powerful figures in the early years of this barony. But more importantly, they were powerful figures in the early years of this group back in the 80s. So it's a great loss for this particular group of our medieval history club. And I am mourning. Thank you.
This getting old crap sucks. That was one of the things Mordrake and I completely agreed on. I knew him for about 40 years. Back when we had all our hair, and what hair we had was still dark color. Mordrake was opinionated, he was direct, he could be confrontational, and those are his good points. Things have been said about me along those same lines. The amusing thing was, is Mordrake and I almost never argued. We didn't always agree. But for whatever reason, we never argued. We'd listen to each other and nod and think, you're wrong, but that's okay, you go be wrong. Or we would agree everybody else was wrong and we were damn right. I met him through the medieval club, like most of us here. Met him on the fighting field. He was a gamer. He wasn't always great, but he was a gamer. He'd get out there and give it his all. And you know what? That's all we can ever do in life. Give it our all. And I'll miss the man.
This is good.
Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to know John a whole lot, just probably the last 4 years. I married his sister, and on occasions we would get together and stuff. And, you know, there's a theme here that kind of, you know, my brother knew him. They went to school together, and, you know, when I told him that, you know, I was marrying Annie, we all grew up together about 6 blocks away from each other, so I was going to marry Annie. And he goes, she has a brother named John. And I says, yeah, it's an older brother and stuff like that. He's like, well, he's a badass. You know what I mean? He's like, you don't mess with John, you know, he lives in his own little world and stuff like that. He goes, the one thing about John that I remember, that if you were his friend or he was passionate about you or anything like that, he would stick by you through thick and thin. You know, and getting to know him, you know, him and his baby sister had a bond. They picked on the middle sister. You know, flipping each other off at the dinner table wasn't uncommon. But he just loved, you know, he loved his sister. He loved her a lot. He'd check on her, and he was good. You know, he stuck by Annie, and through some times when she was going through some stuff with her mom and their dad, and stuff like that. That, you know, he was her rock when he needed to be and stuff. And, you know, for her and stuff, he was always compassionate, always there. And, you know, and I appreciated that, because that was a world that, you know, I didn't know about or anything like that. But, you know, for me, I'm just glad he was always there for her. And, you know, in her life and stuff. And unfortunately, he's going to leave a void for her and stuff, but the memories will carry on. So, and I appreciate all of you that, you know, sharing your memories and stuff and giving Annie something to think about too. So thank you very much.
Oh shoot.
So I've only been in Pueblo for about 10 years, and so I didn't meet Mordrake until he had moved back to Pueblo. And I was never really on the curmudgeon side of things with him. We were always good. I was always happy to see him, and it felt like he added a lot of flavor and culture and some of that old world style. Even when he would say, well, somebody made me a pelican, I don't know why. But I know why, and I never necessarily saw his name on a sign-up sheet, but it's like when you needed him, he was there. And when you you did a couple of quiet words, or like we did Harvest Fest last fall, and he was right there doing serving and taking things back and forth. And I'm a physician, and so I've gotten to watch him when he was having troubles with his joints and couldn't fight, and that was frustrating, but then he got better, and he was getting his kid back together, and he just continued to be involved in all aspects of the society, and really added a lot. It was good to see him watch, interact with the kids, and that's our next generation, and so I think he's going to leave a big hole for us as far as how you can quietly contribute, do your art at home. He used to make fun of us for, why do you haul all your stuff to the library every week, you could just do your stuff at home. And it's like, well, it's that society, and it's not necessarily just show off the end product, but he was pretty good at showing off that end product. So I considered him a friend. I enjoyed his counsel, and sometimes we'd get together and have lunch and things, and I'll miss that we don't have that opportunity anymore. But thanks, Mordrake.
Channeling Perry tripping up with I can only reiterate what everybody else said, basically. I first met him in '88, my first real event. And then I became fringe and dropped out for a while, but re-hooked up with him when he came back. Crusty, yes, squishy inside, but I knew that because he said he liked kittens and he raised cats. And if you like kittens, you're squishy inside. You have to be. That's all. He was a friend. He was a friend and a camping buddy. Needham and Mordrake and I were the first 3 citizens of Freetown because we all smoked. And the problem is that there's only one of us left. It's getting rough, I guess. I don't know. I keep thinking it's going to happen in 3s now. So I will miss him. And I'm working hard to maintain somewhat of a legacy for Savannah and Levi Trucorn. Anyhow, he will be missed. We'll all miss him. We really will. Even when his nose or his curmudgeon. I mean, I've been on the opposite side. I've been on the bad side. But the good side's warm. Bad side was, yeah, you learn your lesson. You learn your lesson. He's a good man to know, and I'm glad I got to know him.
Hi, my name's Donna, and John was my neighbor. When John first moved in, he was all to himself. He wouldn't come out of the house, and the kids were scared. He would go around. And then we got to know him, and he'd come outside, and we were best friends. We gardened, and we talk about our yards, and we talk about my grandkids who were ornery and how they had parties, and John would say, Donna, they're having another one. I'd say, I'm sorry, they make it too much noise. He goes, no, they're fine. But, he was the nicest guy ever, and I'm gonna miss him because we had planned on doing our gardens this summer, and he was so proud. John wasn't real good with kids, but then he met Savannah and the other little boy, and he was so happy one day. He was glowing, and he was telling me about him, and he said, I'm gonna put grass in the back, and I'm gonna get a swing set for him, he says, because they're starting to come over more. And he was looking so forward to that, to have fun with the kids. And he's gonna be truly missed. He was a very good neighbor. Thank you.
Well, I didn't know him as well as
How
everybody
do
else or
you
first.
tell?
I have 2 memories that will probably stay with me. The first one is when he was feeling better and he started coming out with his fighting gear on, and I looked at him and he was getting all geared up, and I was like, kind of hot for an old guy in armor. And his face. That's the memory I will take with me, his face when I said that. And also, I mean, I know the legend, I know the stories, I hear everything. I never, not one time ever, saw or heard anything cantankerous from him. And I remember, because then Elizabeth said, he must have liked you. So, I'll take that with me. Okay, normally I don't do good publicly, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I love John. So, I didn't really know John like a whole lot like everybody else does here. He knew my boyfriend more than I knew him. It was mainly passing, hey, how you doing, things like that. But I've noticed over the last probably 2 or 3 years a serious change in him, and it just makes me want to cry because those kids just, it's amazing what he was doing for those children, and I think it's fantastic. And he was a great guy. I saw a lot of change, and I'm gonna miss him a lot. So, I'm sorry. I know it's a rough day.
Okay, you got the green chili recipe.
I did get the green chili recipe. Oh, and I got the green chili recipe.
I can open.
Does anybody mind if I don't use the microphone? Can you hear me okay? I'll do my best. I met Mordrake when I was a kid. Not necessarily a child kid, but definitely my first years in the SCA when I was still just a teenager. And I went to school with his sister. And I was sitting in camp talking to him one day, and he just looked at me and he said, "Holy crap, you're intelligent." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "No, you're intelligent. Don't let anybody tell you different." So I didn't. I think I saw all the sides of Mordrake over the years, all of them. And yet, for me, he was always kind. When he came back to Arkell after being gone for several years, and whenever we were in camps throughout all of the known world, when we traveled and so forth, and he ran into me, he was unfailingly kind and happy to see me. And when he moved back to Arkell, he came up to me and said, "I don't know if you remember me or not." And I just hugged him and I said, "Mordrake, I'm so glad you're back." And he said, "I can't believe you remember me." And I said, "Mordrake, seriously? How could I forget somebody like you?" I didn't agree with him all the time, he knew that. But he respected my decisions, and he respected my opinions because my opinions had basis in something evidential, so that I had evidence for my opinions, I had reasons for my opinions, and they were solid and they were stable, and he respected that. And he was never unkind to me. Sometimes he was frustrated, and he would get all blustery. But then he would look at me and he would say, I'm sorry, I know I just need to listen. And I said, okay, me too. And we would talk. And things would work. And every time he saw me, it was with a smile, because I knew he was glad to see me. And he was a bane to the social media. But I always talked to him about it. I always told him why things couldn't be a certain way, and he would say, okay. Because he was reasonable in the long run. And if you had a good reason, he would go with it. This is long and rambling. I'm sorry. It's hard to string thoughts together at the moment. But I guess it's obvious that I adored him. And I guess it's obvious that I'll miss him. And I think there are a lot of things in my life that I learned from Mordrake that I'll just carry. And I'll pass them on, because good knowledge is good knowledge, and it should be passed along. So, that's all I've got.
This one's bad.
No, nothing. I'll try that.
Hi, my name is Conley. I'm in the SCA. Mordrake was a dear friend of mine. So, kind of an odd relationship. We met years ago when he was working with Balmer with us. And boy, he came up with some brilliant ideas, and he came up with some really bad ideas. And I was the short little gal that would come up and say, you can't do that. And we'd take off and we'd go sit down and we'd talk about it. We never argued, but boy could he debate. And you always got to the point where you either just head nodded or you just moved on, because he was strong and convicted about what he believed in. And I have to be honest, he changed my mind many a times. And as stubborn as I could get, he would take the time, even when he would come stomping up the road, mad about something simple, he always kind of came back around to his own calm resolution. And we became such good friends that we started talking on Facebook. I always got the kitty pictures because I'm a kitty lover too. I was wished happy Friday every Friday. I could pick up the phone anytime and he would answer my calls. So we were kind of an odd little couple. He would come up once a month to Colorado Springs, pick me up, and take and buy me lunch. And we would just laugh about his crazy ideas, how he ended up in Pueblo. He had called us and said, I'm divorced, I'm moving back home. And we're like, Pueblo? And his love for his home was so deep, and he was just so committed to it that we helped him move in, we helped him find the house, and we closed on the house with him because he had some money coming from a retirement he was waiting on. And there was nothing more comforting knowing that John was coming home. And he was going to cause problems for the barony. He was going to hang in there. But truly, he was a really dear friend, and I will miss him every day. Thank you.
again. Still. Thank you everyone again for coming. We are going to have a potluck picnic in the park. It's at the Lake Minnequa Veterans Park.
How
Poplar
about
Boulevard.
you never tried the mold?
I don't know, something. But if we want to do
I never
caravanning that
tried
way,
that.
we can. You two are not driving. Not even in the back seat.
Never teach you how to
So,
do this.
if everybody is ready, we can pick up and head out in this. Yes, you certainly may.
Danny, you didn't touch it. See, that's how you do it.
There's that grin. As a young man,
Now you try this.
Mordrake took me in. I was working for Sir Heinrich the Jäger, and had he not taken me in and gave me a chance to live
For sure.
and stay at his place, I would have not got my first apartment. I would not have seen all the joyous things that I got to see. And it's that jump start that everybody needs. It's that jump start that everybody doesn't always get a chance to have. And I'm proud to say that Oliver was my friend and that he gave me that jump start in my life. And I hope that he touched all of your lives in such an immense way that he touched mine. Thank you.
If you didn't have a chance to buy stuff for the potluck, I'm probably overbought, so please come eat it. Me and my credit cards had a good time.
Or everybody that does come has to take it home with them.